Welcome to the briefing for the Virginia Vigilance Virtual Tabletop Exercise Series. My name is Chris Floyd, and over the next several minutes we will review a number of features about the upcoming exercises, focus in on what you need to do to prepare, and most important of all, participate in one or several of the 4 exercises. So with that, the exercise logistics. On the day of the exercise you will need 2 computers. One of the computers to log into the exercise system and drive the various scenarios and injects. The second computer you will need to log into the Virginia Web EOC so that during the exercise you can submit various reports and ask for various resources. The computer that you will be using to drive the exercise, you will want to display its monitor through an LCD projector. Of course, you're going to want to have the various plans for the scenario-specific exercises available during the exercise, and the computers need at least Internet Explorer 7.0 or greater. While the exercises are made up of 4 different scenarios, all 4 exercises have the same 3 primary objectives. Those objectives are, number 1, demonstrate the ability of the local EOC to use Web EOC to transmit information to the Virginia EOC. Number 2 objective is demonstrate the ability of the local EOC personnel to gather, organize, and document situational awareness. And finally, the 3rd objective is to demonstrate the ability of the local EOC to establish and maintain a unified operational structures. So to recap, all 4 exercises have the same basic 3 objectives. So let's focus on the 4 scenarios for the tabletop exercise series. First exercise, entitled Twisted Wind, is a severe weather event. Actually, it's a derecho that strikes your community. Second is named Summer Stomach Bug, which is a food-borne illness event or scenario. With this particular scenario, it's going to be very important for you to invite someone from public health to participate as part of your EOC team. Moving on, we then come to Frozen Over, which will be an ice storm, a severe ice storm affecting your community. And the 4th scenario is a hazardous materials exercise or scenario, the name of which is called Danger on Main Street. Just like the foodborne illness exercise, it would be important to have someone participate in your EOC with a hazardous materials experience to make the exercise successful. So you've decided which of the scenarios to participate in. You've recruited appropriate EOC staff. You have the logistical support you need from computers to Web EOC access. And it's finally the day of the exercise. It's pretty straightforward to play. You'll need 2 primary individuals to kind of keep the exercise flow maintained. The first individual needs to be someone who will be driving the computer. That person, and think of them as a scribe, will be the individual who is typing in responses to the various injects, in other words, answering the questions based on the discussion that is occurring. And the second person will be the facilitator, the one, as in a traditional tabletop exercise, who will lead the discussion, keep it moving forward, keep on track. So it'll be important to have those 2 individuals pre-identified prior to the exercise. So when the exercise time comes along and it's time to log in, it will be important for you to understand that the exercise play should take in the neighborhood of 1.5 hours to 2 hours. I recommend budgeting 2 hours for exercise play. It will be self-paced. Once you log in, you'll move through the scenarios and injects based on the level of discussion within your EOC. You will have a range of 6 hours from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. to log in and play through the exercise. In other words, you can start early at 9 a.m. and be done probably by 11 o'clock. You can start at around 11 and play over lunch. You can start in the afternoon and play until 3 or 3:30. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to log in, Play through the exercise when everyone has the availability and the schedule works for your team. The other important piece to remember about this exercise, which is different than FEMA's virtual exercises, you will be playing out independently. You will not be interfacing with any of the other EOCs who are participating. This is not a webinar-based virtual exercise. It's very much independent play. And as you'll see in a few moments, when we actually move through parts and pieces of the exercise, it's pretty straightforward. No one else will see your responses to the various injects. So everyone has gathered in your EOC or training room, and you're ready to start participation in the exercise. You'll simply go to the exercise system, log in with the username and password that you created when you registered for the exercise, click on the forward arrow and begin to move into exercise play. The very first screen you will see is somewhat similar to this. It'll be an exercise briefing with some additional bullet points, sort of those last minute reminders about exercise play, the assumptions of a tabletop exercise. And at the bottom of the screen there'll also be a phone number that you can call if you need any assistance. Think of it as the help desk. Throughout the exercise, you will also see links embedded in the exercise that will take you to additional resource documents such as the Web EOC Overview document that can be accessed in this exercise briefing. In the upper right hand corner you will notice two timers. The bottom timer is the overall amount of time in which this exercise will run. So if you log in and play first thing in the morning, you're going to see 5 to 6 hours worth of exercise play, remembering it will only take you about 90 minutes to 2 hours to work through the various injects and scenarios in the exercise. The top counter, every page that you work through will have a timer specific to that page. The difference between the overall timer and the page timer is it's a mechanism to kind of keep you focused, keep you moving along. If the discussion gets too down into the weeds, what will occur if that top timer, the page timer, zeroes out? An icon appears in the middle of the page and essentially will bump you forward. That kind of ensures that you don't wind up taking 3 hours to complete essentially a 90-minute to 2-hour exercise. So keep an eye on the timers as you play through the exercise. So as you're moving through the exercise, you'll see two different types of screens. You'll see a scenario page similar to what we have here. This is actually from one of the exercises that will give a timeline as to the exercise flow, will provide you information on the situation. It'll have some images. In some cases there will be some videos embedded in the exercise or some links over to some support videos. A scenario page is pretty straightforward. The person behind the computer will need to basically read it for the entire group. Once you've read it, you've digested the information, you'll simply click on the forward arrow over in the right hand corner and continue to move through the exercise. We reviewed a scenario page. Now we're going to review an inject page. One of the first things you'll notice, there's no longer a forward arrow. Inject pages do not have forward arrows. You will need to review the material, and the person at the keyboard will basically type in the responses based on the discussion that occurs in your group. So you'll come to a inject that may ask you, after you've stood up your EOC, essentially develop a prioritized list of activities that need to be accomplished. You can think of that as an incident action plan. The person behind the keyboard will be capturing that information as it is discussed. At the very bottom of the page there's a submit button. Once you've finished having discussion on that particular inject, working through the various issues that have been presented, you'll simply click on the submit button, and by clicking on the submit button it will move you forward in the exercise, while at the same time saving all the information that was typed into the system. So in addition to that HCEEP after action report that you're going to receive, you will also receive what we call an inject response report. As I mentioned earlier, think of the person at the computer as a scribe. They're going to be capturing the discussion, within the system, so that inject response report will basically provide you with the discussion, the basic discussion that occurred during the exercise, which will allow you to go back in, update, add to, revise some plans based on exercise discussion. So the system, yes, while we're playing through it, we're engaging everyone from the exercise play, we're also capturing all the discussion that's occurring during the exercise. We've discussed a scenario page and an inject page. We come up to another scenario page. You can tell it's a scenario page by the forward arrow. However, this one focuses not on giving you a lot of information, but it's going to drive you to access the Virginia Web EOC system and submit appropriate information. The information is either going to be in form of request for assistance or a situation report. So, and in all the exercises, there will be 2 points at which you will come to a page similar to this. You can click on Web EOC within the system and do a split screen on your computer, or what I recommend is you just have a separate computer in which an individual has logged into Web EOC and can submit those resource requests and situation reports accordingly. So we've spent an hour and a half to 2 hours and have participated in the exercise. We'll come to the end of the exercise. However, where the forward arrow was, there's now a link over to Finish Exercise, which will take you to a traditional hot wash page. Once you have accessed the hot wash page, you'll simply complete a group hot wash, identifying 3 aspects of the exercise that went well for your team. We pulled out our plan, our plans worked well, we were really on track with this part of our response, and then identify those aspects, up to 3 aspects that you need to work on. Well, during the exercise we were asked to pull out a resource file and check some resources, and we found the resource file somewhat out of date. So it's a good example of an aspect that we need to improve upon, and this is the first one, an aspect of the exercise that went well. So you'll have an opportunity to do a group hot wash, capture that information, and at the bottom of the page there will be a button you'll simply click on to submit it. Now that hot wash becomes part of your HCEEP after action report. Early on in the exercise, we will provide you with an exercise evaluation guide in which your evaluator will be on site. You identify who your evaluator is. He or she will use that traditional exercise evaluation guide, capture the observations and recommendations on each of the activities and functions in that guide. After the exercise is over, they will log in, submit their evaluation for your EOC, so that we can then generate an after action report that has hot wash information, that has the evaluator observations and recommendations. Once the exercise is over, all of the registered participants receive an email. That email will direct them to go to the Onyx system, the exercise system, log in themselves, complete an individual hot wash, which is really important. We'll give everyone about a day and a half to submit an individual hot wash. And upon submitting that individual hot wash, they will be able to access, download, and print an individualized certificate of participation for the exercise. So we've spent a few minutes, we've covered the logistics needed to run the exercise, we've gone over exercise play, the level of expectation from the participants, the kind of reports that'll be generated. So you should have a pretty good understanding of how the Virginia Vigilance exercise series will flow. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call us at area code 850-241-3565, or you can email us at the email address that is on your screen. Please feel free to call or email us if you have any questions, and we want to make sure the exercise is a success for both you and your EOC team. Thank you.